Dear viewers, welcome to another episode of Editorial Analysis by Drishti IAS. In this segment, we focus on important editorials from major newspapers such as Hindu, the Indian Express, the Times of India, the Financial Express, etc. for effective understanding of our students. Now, through this program, we primarily focus on three things. One, we try to link the editorial with that of the UPSC syllabus. Secondly, we try to decipher or decode the key points that are mentioned in the editorial. And lastly, and most importantly, we try to learn the key concepts, if any, that are mentioned in the editorial. Dear viewers, we truly hope that you love this initiative of Dristhi IAS. Please feel free to give us your valuable suggestions so that we can strive to do better each day. So with a lot of gratitude to our viewers, let us commence today's session of editorial analysis.
Dear viewer, this video is available in Hindi as well. If you wish to watch it, please visit our Hindi YouTube channel, Drishti IAS. For your convenience, the link for this video in Hindi has been provided in the description below.
For today, we have opted for the lead article in the editorial section of the Hindu. It was dated on 26th August 2020. The author of the article, M. Govindarao, is a former member of the 14th Finance Commission. Now, the article is titled, India Does Need a Fiscal Council. Now, the author talks about how it is important that we need to have a fiscal council to complement the rules-based fiscal policy that is created by our government. Now, let us begin by trying to link this article with that of the UPSC syllabus. Now, dear viewers, this article technically serves a lot of purpose. In simple words, it serves as a fodder for a lot of our UPSC mains perspective. Now, if you try to connect it, we can link it with General Studies 2, wherein we talk about economic development. To further go into the paper, we can connect it with Indian economy and, of course, with government budgeting. Now, I've tried my level best to break down this article to talk about the Fiscal Council, and we shall try to go step by step to understand its importance. Now, as the author and as all of us are aware, the fiscal situation in India has been under severe stress. Now, this has been already in an existing format before COVID-19, and of course the coronavirus pandemic has only further worsened the situation. Now, the recent report by the Comptroller General has stated that the consolidated deficit of the Union and the states could be as high as 12% of the GDP, and the overall debt could go up to 85%. However, the author is not concerned about the fiscal situation. Rather, he is more worried and he raises questions on the comprehensiveness, transparency, and accountability in the budgets that lead to this fiscal situation. Now, why is he raising this? Because he has observed that the practice of repeated postponement of targets which are already set in the union budget, that we will not cross beyond this percentage, or we will try to inculcate more fiscal discipline, etc., and non-settlement of bill payments and off-budget financing to show lower deficits has been a common activity among various governments. In 2018, a report by the Comptroller and Auditor General of India on the compliance of governments with the Fiscal Responsibility and Budget Management Act of 2016 and 17, it highlighted that the government has used various obfuscations, which means various measures, to keep the liabilities hidden from the public view. So this is a big problem. Now, the author is asking this question: how do we overcome this, and how to make the budgets comprehensive, transparent, and more accountable to the general public? Now, for this, first, the 13th Finance Commission, had recommended that a committee be appointed by the Ministry of Finance, which would eventually transform itself into a fiscal council. Similarly, the FRBM Review Committee too had made a similar recommendation, underlining the need for an independent review by the Finance Ministry, appointing the council. However, now if you notice, in both these recommendations, they have suggested that a committee be appointed by the Ministry of Finance. Also, the FRBM Review Committee has also suggested an independent review by the Finance Ministry. Now, this is where the problem lies. A council created by the Finance Ministry, and wherein this council reports back to the Finance Ministry, it is very rarely observed that it can be independent or it can be non-partisan. So, considering all of these problems, the 14th Finance Commission had recommended the establishment of an independent fiscal council which should be appointed by and reported to the parliament. And how to give it a more legal legitimacy? Inserting a new section in the FRBM Act, which means, giving it a statutory legal holding. Understand? Now, what is a fiscal council? Now, we have spoken about a fiscal council, but what is the fiscal council? Now, a fiscal council is an independent fiscal institution with a mandate to promote stable and sustainable public finances. Now, the OECD has defined a fiscal council as a publicly funded entity staffed by who? By non-elected professionals. All right, mandated to provide a non-biased oversight of fiscal performance and or advice and guidance on the key aspects of fiscal policy taken up by the government. All right, now how can a fiscal council be helpful? See, now as we mentioned earlier, if it is appointed by and reporting to the parliament, so obviously it will have to submit a report. So therefore, an unbiased report to the parliament will help to raise the level of debate and brings in greater transparency and accountability. All right. Another factor is the costing of various policies and programs, if it can be provided by the fiscal council, can help to promote transparency over the political cycle and thereby discouraging popular shifts in fiscal policy and improve accountability. Also, if scientific estimates of the cost of programs and assessment of forecast could help in raising public awareness about their fiscal implications and most importantly make people understand the nature of budgetary constraint. Okay, and lastly, the council will work technically as a conscience keeper in monitoring rules-based policies and in raising awareness and the level of debate within and outside the parliament. Okay, so now how effective have these institutions been? Now, these kind of institutions have been set up by a lot of emerging economies. A recent study by the IMF has documented that the existence of independent fiscal institutions is associated with stronger financial transparency and governance. Then, countries tend to have a more accurate macroeconomic and budgetary forecast. And also, it tends to raise public awareness and raise the level of public debate in fiscal policy. Okay. So now with this, let's try to summarize what is the article all about. So the background to the situation is the fiscal situation in India has been worsening. It has been further worsened by the coronavirus pandemic. The consolidated deficit is almost 12% of the GDP. All right. So this is a situation that we all need to be worried about. But there are also questions as in on the comprehensiveness, transparency and accountability of our budgets that could lead to a physical situation like this. So these questions have been raised because there have been postponement of targets, non-settlement of bill payments and off-budget financing. These are the various methods that are used by the governments to keep their liabilities hidden. Now, how do we overcome this? So the author has suggested we can create a fiscal council, an independent fiscal council appointed by and reporting to the parliament. This was recommended by the 13th and the 14th Finance Commission and also by the FRBM Review Committee. Now, what is it supposed to be? It is supposed to be a public funded entity composed of non-elected professionals. And what is its task? It will provide a non-biased oversight of performance of key fiscal policies. So to conclude, see, we need to make it very clear that fiscal council is an important institution and it needs to complement the rules-based fiscal policy. But all of this will only happen if there is a political will. If there is no political will, then the institution will not be effective. So with this, I hope you have thoroughly understood what the article is all about. And now we move to understanding what are the key concepts that has been expressed in the article. Now, to begin with, we have spoken about the Finance Commission. Now, what is the Finance Commission? Technically, it is a constitutional body that determines the method and formula for distributing the tax proceeds between the center and the states. Now, among the states, as per the constitutional arrangement and present requirements. Now, dear viewers, it's always important to remember that Finance Commission is one of the most important topics and content you have to include whenever there is a question related to center and state relations and also when there is a reference to federalism. Okay. Now, under Article 280 of the Constitution, the President of India is required to constitute a Finance Commission at an interval of 5 years or earlier. The 15th Finance Commission was constituted by the President of India in November 2017 under the chairmanship of N.K. Singh. Now, the Commission will be submitting its report by November end 2019, and the recommendations made by this Finance Commission will cover a period of 5 years from April 2020 to March 2025. Now, another concept we have to learn, and which is mentioned in the article very often, is the Fiscal Responsibility and Budget Management Act of 2003. Now, what is this act? It is an act of Parliament of India to institutionalize financial discipline. 1. To reduce India's fiscal deficit. 2. And improve macroeconomic management and the overall management of public funds by moving towards a balanced budget. So this is the idea behind the FRBM Act. Now, what are the objectives of this act? Reduction of fiscal deficit and revenue deficit, to achieve intergenerational equity in fiscal management by reducing the debt burden of the future generation. That is, the government of today should try to see to it that any of the policies that they are creating should not be a burden for the future governments. Understand? Another factor is achieving long-term macroeconomic stability, and also better coordination between fiscal and monetary policy. And lastly, transparency in fiscal operations of the government. This act had further undergone an amendment in 2016, where it was asked to submit its reports to the government and the parliament. An other important committee that we have to learn whenever we talk about the FRBM Act is the N.K. Singh Committee. Now, it was set up in 2016 to review the FRBM Act. It recommended that the government must target a fiscal deficit of 3% of the GDP in the years up to March 31st, 2020, and subsequently cut it to 2.8% in 2021 and by 2.5% by 2023. So from this, we move to the next important stage, that is from the mains perspective. How can this be important? See, now one question that has already appeared in 2018 was with reference to the Finance Commission of India and how it is being constituted. So if you would have listened to this session very clearly, you would have known this is what the idea is, or under which article can the Finance Commission be created. And what do you know about the terms of reference of the recently constituted Finance Commission? This is with reference to the 15th Finance Commission under N.K. Singh. Now, if you have listened to this thoroughly, this is a question that we would like to ask from our end. Fiscal Council is a step towards fixing government's accountability and fiscal transparency. Discuss. So, dear viewers, please feel free to write your answers in the comments below and we can discuss this further ahead. Yeah. So, with this, we conclude today's session of editorial analysis. Hope we have thoroughly done justice to this article and you have understood this really well. So, dear viewers, please feel free to give us your valuable suggestions so that we can always strive to do better each day. So, with that, we end this session. Thank you. Until next time, stay safe.